Okay, we'll start in a minute, guys. Have to excuse me, I'm a little distracted here. I'm watching the this Peter Pan live special on NBC, the new one. It's really weird. I don't remember there being nearly this many gay undertones in the original. It's a little creepy, actually. Yeah. Christopher Walken is playing this like he's asleep. Okay. All right, let's do it. Welcome back. We have a ton of stuff to talk about tonight. We got Constantine, we got S.H.I.E.L.D., we got the big Flash Arrow crossover, plus all the big casting news with Suicide Squad and Doctor Strange and Jessica Jones, which were just announced like 2 hours ago. So let's talk about that a little bit. So put all your questions and comments right down there in the comments section. We'll talk about the casting stuff last. Tonight's dinner is pizza. I don't know if you can see that, but pizza. And let me get one bite here before it gets cold. Okay. Well, let's do it. Okay. Let's start with Constantine, episode 6, Rage of Caliban. We got Constantine trying to help a boy who was possessed by a ghost that has been possessing kids and killing their parents for decades. And the teaser to this episode was really good. One of my favorites the show has done, actually. You know, you got the dead bodies and the blood in the ceiling and the guy floating in midair, and then we see this creepy little kid who's responsible for it all. You know, that was really effective and really scary, actually. And I don't know if I have much to say about the rest of it. I'm not sure what I can say. You know, it was a pretty run-of-the-mill standalone episode. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't anything really exciting either. There were some good jump scares early on. Excuse me. Like when Constantine's facing one way and then he turns around and the camera pans really fast and then there's the angel person right there. Or the ghost in the kid's room at the beginning, or when the kid's walking home and from school and suddenly the dog jumps out, you know. Though I thought those were actually pretty startling. And I was enjoying it up to that point. But after that, it just got obnoxious. Like, really obnoxious, because holy shit, this episode was jump scare city. Every scene almost, like every 30 seconds, it seems like jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. You have to space these things out, guys. Really, space them out. I mean, otherwise they just start to lose impact after a while. Chaz gets a little more to do this week, which I liked. But he kind of got the shaft at the end. You know, he gets his legs crushed by a car. He tells Constantine to forget about him and just go after the kid, and then that's the last time we see Chaz. So, I guess that wasn't important. I assume he'll just heal again and be fine afterward, but yeah, a mention of him at the end would have been nice. Also, the ghost just defeated too easily, which is a problem I'm having with a lot of these villains of the week on Constantine. I appreciate that at least the ghost tried to put up a fight when it saw what Constantine was doing, but then he just grabs the kid and he's like, I got you, ghost. Get the fuck out. and then the ghost just leaves. It seemed a little too easy. I thought the kid actor did a good job. Again, you don't know what you're going to get with child actors, but this kid was pretty creepy. I thought he played the part nicely, and that's really all I've got. Not really a bad episode. It just didn't feel like the stakes were very high, I guess. They didn't even need Zed for this one, surprisingly. She had the week off. You'd think that would mean a bigger part for Chaz, and it did, but he wasn't really crucial to the plot either. The tidbits we got on Constantine's backstory were nice, but ultimately it seemed like there just wasn't a whole lot going on in this episode. And I am almost positive that we don't have any comments or questions yet. Pretty much. Oh, we got NJ. Shout out to Batista. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I guess Batista's in the new James Bond. All right, enough of that. I suspect a lot of you are tuning in so we can discuss this Flash Arrow crossover, which was this week. It starts off with The Flash, Episode 8, Flash versus Arrow. We got Team Arrow coming to Central City while working on a case, just in time to help Team Flash with a metahuman who makes people really, really angry, and works his mojo on Barry, forcing a big superhero throwdown. Okay, this was one of the big Flash Arrow crossover episode that they've been teasing for months. So this had a lot of hype behind it, and people on social media were really crapping themselves over this on Tuesday. And I won't disagree with that. It was a good episode, but that was mainly carried on the novelty of seeing the two teams interact. That alone does not make this good. And I think some of the people who were like, ZOMG, this is the greatest episode of television in history, were overhyping it a little. The two casts work very well together. I especially like Diggs' reaction to Barry's powers. You think he does everything that fast? Does he go to the bathroom that fast? It's funny. Cisco had some funny moments, and even Iris drooling over Oliver was amusing too. I appreciated Joe and Harrison Wells pointing out that Oliver is technically a murderer. He's killed a lot of people, and maybe that's not something they want. That's not somebody they want working with them. I'm glad that detail wasn't overlooked. I liked Oliver's reluctance to work with Barry, and his reasons made sense. Barry is a rookie at this stuff, and that shows quite often, actually. I wish we'd seen more of Barry trying to train. Wish we'd seen more of Oliver trying to train Barry. Because Oliver was giving him some great advice and making some very good points about Barry. Barry doesn't think. He should, because he's supposed to be a smart person, but more often than not, Barry doesn't, because the writers keep having to use him acting really stupid as a plot device to move the story forward. So Oliver pointing out stuff like that was really good, and I liked it. But they kind of ruined it when they had Oliver dig up, still can't believe this. They had Oliver rig up these crossbows to shoot Barry in the back. Yes, it was funny, but it was also insane. I don't care how fast Barry heals. If one of those arrows hit him in the wrong spot, he'd be dead. Dead. Oliver had no way of being sure that Barry would stand in the exact right spot to just take a flesh wound. An inch or two in the wrong direction would be all it would take. Okay, what if Barry got shot in the spine or the back of the neck or the head? He'd be fucking dead. So Oliver almost accidentally murdered Barry here. And that's fucked up. I'm sorry, but it is. Okay, then there's this big fight at the end. Great fight. Really. Barry relying on his powers, and you got Oliver outsmarting him and using strategy and stuff because he can't overpower him. Great fight sequence. I mean that. But we've come to expect that from these shows by now. You know, Cisco, Caitlin, and Dig arguing about who would win a fight was really funny. You know, you get the sense that this was put in there just for the fanboys. But here's the thing. Caitlin made a very good point about this. Barry has superpowers. Oliver has a bow and arrow. Realistically, this shouldn't be a fight at all. Okay? For the same reason why Barry should not have trouble facing just about any bad guy he comes up against. A man who can run faster than the speed of sound should be able to make quick work out of a non-powered dude no matter how good of a fighter he is. But again, Barry acting so stupid that this becomes a moot point is the writer's favorite plot device on this show. Hence the reason why Oliver is able to fight Barry to a draw, because Barry is an idiot. All he has to do is just zoom straight at Oliver, take him down before Oliver can react, and the fight is over. Just like that. I couldn't snap on the first time. Like that. My fingers are greasy from the pizza. Like that. Just take him down just like that. Instead, Barry does what he always does. He wastes time standing still, being cocky, talking to the guy when he should be fighting him, giving Oliver a chance to do things, just like Barry did with Captain Cold. So as good as this fight was, and it was really good, you still had to take it with a huge grain of salt. Now, as for the rest of the episode, this whole subplot with Eddie felt kind of phony to me. I'm still not buying this thing with him and Iris at all. The dialogue in the scene with them in bed was just really hammy. You know, it was so obvious what they were trying to do. And then this thing with him wanting to bring in the Flash pretty much comes out of nowhere. You know, suddenly he's all gung-ho on taking the Flash down, and it really plays like he's just jealous of Irish for hero-worshipping the guy. And then Barry immediately validating Eddie's hostility that came out of nowhere by choosing that exact moment to go nuts because of this metahuman that's affecting him. It was just all really, really convenient. I thought that whole thing with Eddie, you know, being jealous of the Flash was just very rushed and could have been set up a lot better in a more subtle way prior to this episode. And speaking of a lack of subtlety, I guess I should have expected stuff like this. We are in the CW after all, but Felicity's clothes catch fire when Barry speeds her to Star Labs. Really? Her shirt catches fire? This has never happened to anyone's clothes during super speed before. But it's the CW. So I guess we kind of had to expect Felicity to take her shirt off at some point because fan service. And of course, Caitlin is the one who walks in on them. And then Barry with the jab about her treating him like Ronnie, and Felicity making it clear that even she sees that there's something going on between these two, which there clearly is. I don't know if it just happened that way or if it was intentional on the writer's part, but there is. Excuse me. Caitlin often brings up relationship type issues with the Iris stuff. Barry is often compared to her supposedly dead fiance. This is going to happen. And I still feel it way more than the Barry-Iris connection. You know, they're trying to push the Barry-Iris thing more. You know, he can't help but, you know, flirt with her a little bit as the Flash, which is kind of a low blow to Eddie, quite frankly. And we see Iris standing up for the Flash, being upset when he's acting crazy, but they're trying to imply some kind of pull that Iris feels toward him that just seems kind of phony. Maybe partly because she doesn't know who he is yet, maybe partly because she really hasn't been obsessed with him that long, maybe partly because I'm still seeing so many similarities between this and the Lois Blur thing from Smallville, which is not a good thing. Either way, the scenes with Barry and Caitlin feel more authentic to me, more in tune with setting up a potential relationship, whereas any romantic tension with Barry and Iris comes off manufactured and forced, at least in my opinion. Okay. The villain, this Rainbow Raider guy, completely one-dimensional. Just a plot device to make Barry go nuts so Oliver can fight him. The Flash, apparently. You know, they really need to work on fleshing out the bad guys better on this show. But I think you can sort of forgive that this time because he wasn't what the episode was really about. You wanted the Flash versus the Arrow, and you got that. And regardless of how the fight was set up, they did at least get that right. Now, one thing I loved was the surprise at the end, when Oliver runs into his baby mama from Arrow Season 2. There was so much other stuff going on, I totally forgot that she was supposed to live in Central City. But that was a great detail to add. You know, not really making a big thing of it, just putting it out there and showing that the writers hadn't forgotten about that. I really liked how that was done. I mean, that girl was not a big character. I don't think we even learned her name in Season 2. You know, she was just part of the flashbacks for one episode. So it would be really easy to forget about her. Hell, I almost forgot about her. But then she just shows up and like, oh, damn, I didn't see that coming. Yeah, that was, I liked that. So, overall, it's a good episode. I don't think it's perfect. It does have some problems. But I think the stuff they get right outweighs that. Yeah, the dynamic with Oliver and Barry works really well, despite the almost killed Barry by accident thing, which I'm not giving them a pass on. There were a couple things I wish they'd done differently, but I think it was very satisfying to the fans who were looking forward to this, and it set the stage nicely for more crossovers in the future. Okay. However, I think it was very much outdone by part 2 of this crossover on Wednesday. Arrow, Season 3, Episode 8, The Brave and the Bold, which, in my opinion, was a far superior episode. We got Team Arrow taking on Captain Boomerang, a former Suicide Squad member previously thought dead. You know, Team Flash comes to town to get some DNA evidence from Sarah's murder that Felicity needs analyzed. But really, Caitlin and Cisco just want to see the Arrow Cave. But, you know, we don't call it that. Ever. In my opinion, what made this episode work was something that was lacking in part 1, that I was hoping we would get in part 1, was the conversation between Barry and Oliver. Where Oliver, you know, after Oliver tortures that guy for information, Barry has a problem with this, but Oliver's like, things are different here. You live in a world of bright colors and flashing lights where every bad guy gets like a cute code name. And I live in a world of death and violence and brutality. And you have to go to extremes because extremes are the only things extremists understand. And I thought that was a really clever commentary on the differences between not just these two characters, but the two shows as well. You know, and their viewpoints made sense. You know, Barry is a lot more innocent and optimistic because he's only been doing this for a short time, and he hasn't really been through any crucibles yet. But Oliver has been through many crucibles, and is really battle-hardened and dark and kind of jaded about this type of stuff. And the flashbacks helped a lot with that because they show you how he became this way, why he thinks the way he does, and why that makes sense to him. Yeah, these flashbacks on the show, they always work best when they can tie into the events of the present day organically in some way. Yeah, they don't always manage it, like with that memory candle thing from a few weeks ago, which I thought was a really flimsy way to connect the flashbacks in the present day. But this story worked really well. You got Oliver failing to stop a bombing, and a bunch of people end up getting killed because he just didn't have the stomach to torture a guy for the information about where the bomb was. Yeah, it's harsh and it's brutal, but it makes sense too. Captain Boomerang, he was really cool. The fight with him at the beginning was great. I must sound like a broken record by now, but I mean, damn, the fight sequences on this show are so freaking good. So freaking good. As was the twist when Captain Boomerang finds the Arrow Cave and then just shows up from out of nowhere. No build-up at all. They just realize that he's tracking them, and then, boom, there he is. They'll have like 5 seconds notice to get away, and then boom, he just shows up. That was great. And then suddenly Lila gets a boomerang in the chest. Really shocking moment right there. Although I have to say, excuse me, got a little cough. Although I have to say, between Slade Wilson and now this guy finding their base of operations, the Arrow Cave really needs better locks. It does. Something else I appreciated about this was that they made better use of the supporting cast. You know, in part one, Diggle, Cisco, and Caitlin didn't really have a whole lot to do, especially Diggle. You know, here at least they got to do stuff. You know, they weren't just background players here. They actually served a critical purpose. And that, you know, there was a reason for bringing them into the show, into the episode, beyond just fan service. You know, there was a reason for them to be there, and that was nice. And, you know, overall, I thought the episode was just a lot more focused and a lot more tightly written than part one, which was kind of weighed down by the subplot with Iris and Eddie that just felt kind of hastily thrown together in a burgeoning love triangle with them and the Flash that I'm just not buying whatsoever. Plus, you get the sense that the two heroes are able to actually learn something from each other in this situation. You know, they get to teach each other something. Unlike most of part one that had Oliver trying to teach Barry stuff and Barry just not getting it. You know, we get Barry, you know, really questioning Oliver's tactics, you know, questioning the extremes he goes to. But at the same time, Oliver gets results, but it comes at a cost. And Barry kind of teaching Oliver, you know, that he still has some connection to his humanity and stuff. So they learn from each other and they grow with each other, and that's nice. I don't think we really got that in part one. So the final verdict on the Flarrow crossover. Part one was good, but it had its share. Oh, Christ. Part one was good, but it had its share of problems. Part two picked up the slack and redeemed it, in my opinion. And if I could have changed one thing, I think it would have been making this more like one big story, one big episode. As it is, instead of just like one big event, it felt like a standalone Flash episode guest starring the Arrow cast, and then a standalone Arrow episode guest starring the Flash cast. not bad. There just wasn't a whole lot of connective tissue there. And what we got was kind of flimsy. A really good episode here, though. I enjoyed it a lot more than part one. Oh, and Barry using the salmon ladder at super speed. That was really funny, too. So, that was the Flarrow crossover. See if we got any comments yet. All right, wait. Remember, we had some comments from Twitter I need to get to first. Sorry about this. I haven't eaten all day. This is from Pedro Valente at Pedro Lunian. Oliver looks like a pro and Barry like a moron. Oliver made sense and Barry still didn't get it. Yeah. Pretty much my opinion. Flash has loads of problems, but only a few good things. Barry makes the same mistakes over and over. He and Iris have zero chemistry. Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Barry does seem to make the same mistakes a lot. And him and Iris, well, I wouldn't say they have no chemistry. They just have the wrong type of chemistry. You know, I look at Barry and Iris, and I believe that they have this sort of familial brother-sister relationship because they grew up together. I believe that. But I just don't see the romantic chemistry. I don't feel it at all. With Barry and Caitlin, I feel it. With Barry and Iris, it's just I don't know. It's not there. Clearly, Barry and Caitlin are obvious as a couple. Eddie's sudden hatred of the Flash makes no sense. Yeah, exactly. That just came out of nowhere. Yeah, they could have set that up better. They could have started setting that up from the pilot. Of him being just naturally suspicious of this guy who's taken the law into his own hands. You know, there are reasons for him to dislike the Flash. Valid reasons, in fact. You know, he is, for all intents and purposes, a vigilante with a hell of a lot of power. And it's very easy to be mistrustful of someone like that. But instead, it just comes out of nowhere, and it just feels like he's acting this way just because he's jealous of Iris, of, you know, fangasming over the Flash. It really seems like that's the only reason why Eddie is acting this way, which makes him seem very petty. And I don't think that was the intent. Iris saying that Oliver is on her cheat list killed her and Barry's possible future relation. Yeah, that was funny. Oliver's on her cheat list. You think Eddie would get jealous of Oliver? Try to claim Oliver's a vigilante. But Eddie, the arrow's on my cheat list, you know? But yeah, they are making it very difficult to get into this supposed Barry Iris love story. Just not feeling it. All right. Have one from at Monty the Producer. What you think about Little Spartacus on Arrow and Little Prison Break on Flash with all these actors from those shows? Well, I never watched Spartacus, so I couldn't Couldn't say. All the Prison Break actors showing up on there. It's cool. Yeah, I watched Prison Break. It was a fun show before it got too crazy. I think past season 1, it just started getting really ridiculous. But yeah, I like it. Supposedly they're going to have the hell was his name? Yeah, they're going to have Michael Scofield and his brother from Prison Break. They're playing Captain Cold and that I don't know, the guy with the heat gun. Going to have them team up together. It'll be fun to see them sharing a screen again. I don't know if I'm really shitting myself with excitement over it, but it's cool. All right, Costaladius. What did you think of Firestorm teaser at the end of The Flash? Thought it was fine. Again, I kind of think that Robbie ML was just a little stunt casting. Well, not stunt casting because he's not really famous, but it's just prototypical CW casting of just going for a guy for his looks rather than someone who like really fits the part. I don't know. I didn't really get anything from him in his first episode. I am interested. I mean, can't talk today. I am interested to see what they do with Firestorm. Yeah, supposedly they cast that older guy who's supposed to be one half of the Firestorm Matrix, and Jason Rush has also been cast. So I don't know what's going on there. Apparently they're going to be a part of it at some point this season. I'm interested to see what they do with Firestorm. Can't say I'm super excited about it. I'm at least interested to see where it goes. Guess kind of make me wonder how they're going to do that on a TV budget. Wonder how much money they get allocated per episode. This saved me one. So Iris has a boyfriend in Eddie, but she's always flirting with Barry. Well, no, she's not. She's flirting with the Flash. I don't see any flirting with Barry. Who she doesn't know is her crush, the Flash. And in this episode was gushing over Oliver. Are they trying to make this character out to be a big tramp or what? I don't know if they want her to be a tramp. I think this is more to illustrate how hapless Barry is in regards to the Iris situation. It's like he just can't catch a break because she's into like every guy except him. But I think it's working against them in the fact that it's not helping the chemistry at all. I see what they're going for, but I just don't think it works. It's not making me root for Barry to get Iris in the end. It's kind of making me root for him to move on to another woman. Because even if this Barry Iris thing is going to work, they can be like brother and sister at first, but there has to be some kind of underlying romantic tension beneath the surface. We have to feel that. And the actors just aren't selling it for me. Now, we'll reference Fitzsimmons from S.H.I.E.L.D. It was a very similar situation with them. A guy and a girl joined at the hip, like inseparable for years, like best friends for years, platonic best friends, and then something changes. But even at their most even in the pilot, those early season 1 episodes, when they were just platonic best friends, you could always sense that there was something more beneath the surface. And even if and they weren't acknowledging it, but it was always there. And you could see it. Barry and Iris, it's just not there. All I get is the brother-sister thing. So, they have Iris being attracted to other guys, and Barry sometimes looks like it bothers him, and sometimes he doesn't. But even when he does, I don't really feel it. More often than not, they're just telling us that he's in love with her instead of showing us, like they did in this episode in the pilot. It's like, Christ, in this episode, I forget what it was, but I wrote on Twitter, like, again, they're just telling us that he's in love with Iris instead of showing us, and they try to show you later when they tried to play this supposed romantic tension when he's attacking Eddie under the influence of the Rainbow Raider guy. And again, I just don't feel it. The whole thing just feels manufactured to me. I wish I'd finished eating this before we started tonight. All right. So that's a big crossover. Flash and Arrow. Got a ton of attention on social media. Really did. Kind of feel like I'm on an island unto myself here because I wasn't gushing, with a fanboyish glee over the whole thing. It was good. I just didn't think it was the greatest thing ever. Anywho, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 2, Episode 9, Ye Who Enter Here, which is what is written above the doorway to hell. So you know this must be good. So we got Hydra having everything they now need to weaponize the Diviner. So Coulson and company want to go to the temple in the ancient city that they now have the location for and blow the fuck out of it before Hydra can get there and do all manner of evil shenanigans. I'm sure nothing about that could possibly go wrong, right? Yeah. And wow. Another pivotal episode this week. It took a while in the first season to get all those ducks in a row, but it's paying off now because S.H.I.E.L.D. is really hitting us with a lot of stuff. These last few episodes, it's been revelation after revelation after revelation, and this was no different. The Kree are name dropped here. The Inhumans are basically confirmed. They find the temple that Sky's dad has been talking about. And now Hydra is converging on them. There was a lot of stuff to cover here. But I have to start at the beginning. I really enjoyed how this episode opened, just because of the aesthetic of everything with this Sky dream sequence. Just the way it was shot with all the Dutch angles and the different cinematography and the camera tricks they used. It was a really ominous and creepy sequence. And I wish the show would experiment with different visuals like that more often because they're really good with this type of stuff when they try to be. Reference Coulson's Tahiti Memories a few weeks ago. That was great too. And some really interesting symbolism here with in this dream. With Sky wearing the flower dress, just like Raina always wears flower dresses, and seeing Coulson and May as her surrogate parents abandoning the baby. This said all sorts of interesting things about Sky, and I expect that'll only intensify when she meets her dad next week. So there's that. Oh, another thing I loved, Agent 33 is back, surprisingly. And apparently, she has the face-changing mask tech thing stuck to her permanently now. I guess because of when May electrocuted her. now she's stuck looking like May with half her face burned off. Man, that's creepy as fuck. Great makeup on that. I'm so glad they brought her back. I thought 33 was dead after that fight with May a few weeks ago, and we wouldn't see her again. But now she's like this recurring villain who's like an evil May doppelganger. That's so twisted. I love it. Great reveal with that too. Raina is in this this diner or something, and she's apparently found herself a sugar daddy. It's just rich guy to mooch off of. And she sees May because she thinks S.H.I.E.L.D. is still tracking her. Then she goes to talk to her, and then May turns and you see the destroyed base. It's like, oh, holy shit. That was great. And then the Koenigs to the rescue with the invisible umbrella of all things. Which I assume they made from reverse engineering the tech, the cloaking tech, and the Quinjet that they stole. Boy, the places I would sneak into with one of those things. But maybe I've said too much. Anyway, the Koenigs. We haven't seen them in a while, but we finally get two of them in the same place to hilarious effect. Was anyone else getting Cylon flashbacks from these guys? This was great. So what are we thinking with these guys? Life model decoys? I think it has to be, right? But well, whatever it is, just give us more of the Koenigs because they're a riot. I love them fucking with Trip. It was great. Yeah, how many of you are there? 13? 13? Nah, we're just messing with you, dude. But then they don't tell him how many there actually are. And he's like, what the fuck is going on with this shit? Hilarious. Awesome comedy in this episode. With Coulson, too. Ooh, hats. It's the most random ass thing. They're talking about destroying this alien city and saving innocent lives, and they're like, ooh, hats, Clark Gregg is great with just dry humor like that. Also, they actually shot this episode in Puerto Rico. So they were not on a soundstage or a green screen there. They were actually in Puerto Rico. Great scenery there. So anyway, excuse me. We got the team splitting up with half of the... Sorry. We got the team splitting up with half of them going to find the city, which apparently is like deep underground, and the other half going to secure Raina. And we get a terrific fight scene with Skye and 33 when they go to the safe house. I mean, where has this Skye been hiding the whole time? I don't know, but this was badass. Skye's been leveling up, apparently. This was probably one of my favorite fight scenes that they've done on this show. Yeah, that's becoming a trend. I've noticed that close quarters fight sequences seem to be the kind that S.H.I.E.L.D. excels at. Yeah, so that was really good. They bring Raina on the bus, and her and Skye have a chat, and here's where it gets really interesting. Raina name drops the Kree, and she's talking about these special humans who have the potential to be so much more. I was getting chills during this scene because they basically did everything but say Inhumans. So where this is all going. And Marvel has let the cat out of the bag now. They released some comic art earlier of the Inhumans Black Bolt, Medusa, and whatnot, with the Kree writing all over the place. So that's confirmed now. But the kick in the teeth is that anyone who's not an Inhuman, who is not deemed worthy by the Diviner, by the city or the temple or whatever, dies if they go into this place. So, of course, the other team is doing exactly that. And Mac, man. Oh, God. Mac was the one I was worried about. If someone was going to potentially be killed off, and they teased this in the press release, I knew Mac was going to be the one in trouble, since he was primarily introduced to help Fitz, at least at first. And now Fitz doesn't really need him so much to communicate anymore, at least not as much as he did, leaving Mac without a primary purpose anymore. So I figured he's expendable at that point. More on that in a second. More on the Fitz thing in a second. But yeah, Mac goes down. He goes down there to check shit out. And I guess they find the entrance to the city or the temple, or they find something there. And then suddenly, boom, the shit hits the fan, and Mac goes knucking futz, turns super strong, goes all red in the eyes all of a sudden. He tries to kill everybody, which is not exactly what Reyna said would happen. Curious. It was probably some kind of defense mechanism for the city, I think. So there's another intense fight that was really good. You know, Mac is overpowering Bobby of all people. Simmons almost goes tumbling off a cliff. And Mac... you know, Bobby shocks him in the neck, and Mac falls down the shaft, and don't you fucking kill Mac, Marvel. Don't you do it. Don't do it. Mac is cool. If you want to kill somebody, kill Trip. He doesn't do anything. Yeah, at least Mac actually gets development and stuff. For the record, I don't think Mac is dead. Yeah, we didn't see a body, and that's the rule with TV. If you don't see a body, assume they're still alive. But yeah, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happening to him there. And honestly, I'm kind of torn about what I want to see happen with that. You know, as much as I like Mac and I want him to stick around, I have to admit it would make a lot of dramatic sense to kill him off here. You know, it would raise the stakes with everyone converging on the city for one thing, to really put over, you know, the danger of that place, and also for what it would do to Fitz too. So that's a big question mark. I don't think he's going to die, but you never know. And they did set that up, making Mac very likable just before they did this, with him building the remote-controlled miniature Lola for Coulson. That was really cute. And trying to get Fitz and Simmons to finally talk to each other. So they make Mac really endearing to everyone and to the audience, and then they do this. Bastards. So anyway, back on the bus, Hydra hijacks the... Yeah, they find the frequency or whatever of the tracker that S.H.I.E.L.D. put into Reyna so they could keep tabs on her. The bus gets boarded, and of course, Whitehall sends Ward. And this was a great scene. I wish we got more of. You want to bet Ward still has hard feelings about May and the nail gun? I believe that was the first time we've seen them interact all season. I was hoping we'd get more of that. Got a little bit. I was hoping that they'd play that up more. So yeah, Ward takes Reyna. I love that Reyna wants to go with Hydra now. Yeah, before she was like running from them because they were, you know, Whitehall put the thing in her and he was going to kill her and stuff. So she was scared of them, but now suddenly it's like, wait, you guys have the Diviner? Well, screw S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't need these asshats anymore. Let's go, Ward. You know, you can always trust Reyna to be Reyna, can't you? Yeah, she's single-minded rather. You know, she wants the Terrigenesis thing to happen. Everybody else, fuck them. And I love how she just threw it out there at the end. It's like, oh, Sky, you better bring your tablet with a map of the city on it. It's like, fuck, you bitch. She says it so offhandedly, like it's no big deal. Ruth Nigga is a gem. But then we got, so we got Ward going into business for himself, taking Sky too, and apparently keeping his word about not shooting the plane down, which is interesting. I like this. I like all the shades of gray that we're getting with Ward here. You know, he's not a good guy by any stretch, and I don't think he could really be redeemed at this point. But he's not altogether evil either. You know, he went against Whitehall's orders and he let the team live when he didn't have to. You know, when his orders actually were to take Reyna and then shoot the plane down, but he didn't. Now Whitehall remedies that in a hurry. Man, boy, that partnership did not take long to implode, did it? I can't wait to see what happens there. But Ward, he's I don't see his affiliation with Hydra lasting very long. That guy is becoming a real wild card. But it does seem like Skye brings out some kind of humanity in Ward, in the sense that he doesn't want to do anything that will upset her. Because I guess he's still under the deluded impression that he can win her back by taking her to meet her father. Yeah, I don't think that's going to do it, Ward. I don't think Skye can be coerced that easily. But this guy's not playing with a full deck anymore, so he doesn't see it that way. I really love what they're doing with Ward this season. He's so complex. He seems to want to be a good guy, but he can't reconcile that with all the all the nefarious, horrible shit that he's done. He can't go back, so instead he goes sideways. He's very interesting right now. And Bobby's got some cool stuff going on too here. What is happening with this? Bobby and Mac have some kind of secret they're keeping from everybody. And this being open-ended is one of the reasons why I think Mac is not going to die. But I loved him looking at Bobby and Hunter at the beginning. He sees them finally getting along, and he's like, "Oh shit, this never ends well." You get the feeling that Mac and Bobby go way back, and he's watched them go through this process with Hunter many times, and it's like this never-ending cycle. They fight, they fuck, they make up, and then the whole process starts all over again. It's like, yeah, there's a storm coming. And then he asks Bobby if she wants to bring Hunter in on the other thing. What other thing? What is this? I don't know, but I'm starting to get why Hunter couldn't trust Bobby when they were married. Yeah, she does like her secrets. I'm suddenly incredibly curious about this. And I think it may somehow be alien-related. Notice how when Coulson is debriefing the team about destroying the ancient city, Bobby and Mac kind of look at each other. They share this look. Something passes between them there. And then afterward, Bobby, when they're in Puerto Rico, Bobby is very curious, strangely curious about what Coulson's plans for the city are exactly. So what's going on here? Do Bobby and Mac have something going on the side? Are they reporting to Fury, or maybe someone else? Given the sudden interest in this alien stuff, I mean, wouldn't it be crazy if they were reporting to Abigail Brand? I'm sure it won't happen that way, but wouldn't it be insane if they did? It'd be awesome. But they already did a really similar storyline in season 1, so I imagine they won't go there. Sorry. And then we have Fitzsimmons, who finally talked to each other this week. Well, sort of. They tried. But it's the most progress they've made so far. And they are attempting to address the elephant in the room, finally, even if it's not with each other. God, this storyline kills me every week. Finally, someone asks Simmons about what happened in the med pod in the season 1 finale, and it's pretty much like I figured. Everything happened so fast that Simmons never had a chance to process anything about what Fitz told her before he, blows the door out and the water rushes in, and suddenly he's in a coma and everything changes, leaving her really confused about the whole situation and not really able to talk about it or process it, really. And she just has she basically just has no idea what to do or how to feel about it. But you had to love Bobby in this scene. When her and Simmons are talking, Bobby asks her how long her and Fitz were a thing, and Simmons is all like, "What? Well, me and Fitz. Oh no, we were never like that. I never even dreamed that something like that would." and Bobby just gives her this look like, "Bitch, Please, who are you trying to fool here? It's priceless. Because we know what a great interrogator Bobby is. I mean, hell, she got Bakshi's whole life story pretty much when he barely told her a thing. So Bobby's like, she sees right through this, and she's like, yeah, okay, Simmons, look, you're obviously lying to yourself, but I'll lay off and play along for now. She doesn't say this, but it's obviously what she's thinking. So Simmons is really unsure about this whole situation, and that makes sense. You know, it took Fitz most of the first season to really figure out what he was feeling. And right now, I think Simmons is where Fitz was in The Only Light in the Darkness. You know, still in denial, clearly, but starting to think about it, about the possibility. And she wouldn't have asked Bobby if the ride is worth it if she wasn't at least considering it in some way, shape, or form. But I imagine that'll take a while still. Probably until the season 2 finale. In the meantime, God bless Mac. God bless that man for trying to make them talk to each other. But again, it's so painful because they just can't get on the same page, and it's just one misunderstanding after another. And considering how those two characters started out in the beginning of this show, it just makes this heartbreaking to watch. Simmons tries to explain why she left, but Fitz thinks that it's because she doesn't feel the same way about him, thinks that she finds him useless now without his intellect, and because his self-worth is so shot to hell right now, this is what he thinks. But as we just found out, Simmons really doesn't know how she feels yet, but she can't explain that because they keep getting their wires crossed. And this scene was very strange to me, because Fitz says that he's going to move out of the lab and let her run the science division since he doesn't feel like he can work with her because he's not getting better. But he is getting better. We've seen him getting better and making progress in his recovery. You know, he didn't stutter at all in the last episode, and he got it back in the field, and he completed the mission. But now here he is, stuttering again, like he's gone backwards, and he thinks he's not getting better. I guess this is supposed to illustrate how Fitz sees himself and how Simmons really does affect his condition in some way. However, I maintain that this is because of all the emotional baggage he's carrying around about Simmons that he can't get rid of because these two dummies won't talk to each other. And the really funny thing here is that what Fitz tells her is really not that big a deal. All he's doing is moving from the lab to the garage. That's literally all he's doing. But still, that's enough to make her start crying. That's how strong the feelings are between them, which neither of them really understand because they just can't seem to communicate. The irony in all this is that Fitz and Simmons could probably resolve most of the issues between them quite easily if they would just have one honest conversation. But they just can't seem to do it. Son of a bitch, what have these characters done to me? I don't know, but these two, Ian DeCasticker and Elizabeth Henstridge, they continue to kill this. Yeah, they always knock this out of the park when they do scenes like this. It's amazing. So even though that scene ended on a very, very sad note, I have a little bit of hope after watching the next scene, where Mac just refuses to finish Fitz's thoughts for him. You know, Mac and Bobby kind of teaming up here, trying to force Fitzsimmons to start Fitzsimmonsing again. And it seems to work a little bit. You know, they got on the same page for a moment there. That's something. And next week, it looks like they're going to be in a pretty harrowing situation. You know, there was a clip of them kind of clutching each other as stuff was falling apart around them, like the cave was there was a cave in or something. And these two only seem to come to these big emotional revelations about each other when one or both of them are in mortal peril. So I hope that forces them to open up and be honest with each other for a change. Just give me something, Marvel. Otherwise, that 3-month midseason hiatus is going to be brutal. Oh, man. Not looking forward to that. But anyway, there is my very long-winded review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week. I really love this episode a lot. We got even more big story revelations. We got some great comedy. They finally scratched the surface on the Fitzsimmons stuff that I've been waiting for since the season 1 finale. Excuse me. Some great cliffhangers with Mac's life on the line and the bus about to be shot down by Hydra. Overall, I thought this was a really great setup for next week's mid-season finale, and everything I've heard so far about that says that episode is supposed to be fucking huge. Because everyone involved in the show is just raving about this one. So, can't wait to see that. This mid-season finale is supposed to be like a real game changer where like nothing is left unscathed and nothing is left the same afterward. It's supposed to be massive. Excuse me. And that show is over, so we can turn this off. Okay, it's distracting. I forgot to delete Gotham from the title. Oh well. Sorry. And let's do this. Right. And Jacob Walton. My thoughts on S.H.I.E.L.D. this week. I'm getting the feeling that everything will go down next week. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they've a lot of storylines converging here, and that's pretty much what everyone, what all these representatives of the show are saying. That this next episode is really fucking big. You know, Skye meeting her dad. The team is in the city. Raina and Skye find out what they become. In a way, I'm kind of hoping a lot of the plot points get closure next week. I believe we'll see that. Yeah. Sucks that Mac got axed off this week, or at least he'll never be the same if he survives. Yeah, that does suck. I like Mac a lot, but again, I don't believe he's dead. I don't think so. Here are my questions for this week. What do you think the Patton Oswalt brothers really are? Clones, maybe? I think they're life model decoys. They name dropped those in the Avengers. Tony mentioned them in one of the early scenes. So we know LMDs exist, and that would be the simplest explanation. What do you think Bobby Morse is hiding from Hunter and the group? Do you think she's working for Fury, or is out? Or is our Hydra sleeper agent fading away with her now? I'm not really sure what you mean by that. I don't know. It's a good question about Bobby. I don't. What are her and Mac hiding? They've already done the storyline of somebody reporting on Coulson to Fury. They've already done that. I don't think they would do that again. I think it's possible that they could be reporting to somebody else. I don't think it's likely. I don't think this is about being a hypnotized Hydra sleeper, brainwashed Hydra sleeper, because then you'd have to wonder, well, okay, Bobby, there would be a way for Bobby to be brainwashed, but what about Mac? When would they have gotten to him? Because they both have to be brainwashed, I think, for that to work. I don't think it's about that. I don't know if I have a theory about that. I think I could offer up some thoughts about what it's not, what they're not up to, but what they are up to, I couldn't tell you. I'm as curious as you are. Who do you think will turn on who first? Ward on Whitehall, Sky's dad on Whitehall, Whitehall on everyone else, etc. Well, Ward already kind of turned on Whitehall by going against orders. So Ward's no dummy. He knows Whitehall's probably going to be pissed about that, although he hides it well. It's funny. When Whitehall found out, he seemed kind of amused by this. He's like, "Whoa, oh, this guy wants to play with fire, huh? Okay, I'll bite." Oh, shoot that plane down, by the way. You know, um, I think Whitehall will turn on Ward first. I think the gears are already turning in Whitehall's head, and I'm not convinced that Whitehall ever trusted Ward 100% in the first place. And Sky's dad, I don't think he's on anybody's team. I think teaming with Whitehall is just a means to an end for him, because I think he knows that Whitehall killed his wife, Sky's mother. So this is really, he's working with Whitehall because they have the same goals about reaching the city, but beyond that, I'm absolutely expecting him to turn on Whitehall at some point. I think Whitehall might turn on him first. Did you buy Simmons' concussion? I think you mean confession to Bobby about Fitz. Did you buy Simmons' confession to Bobby about Fitz? I think so. I think that's what Simmons believes. She said that she never thought of Fitz as anything but a friend. But, of course, Bobby clearly wasn't buying it. He's like, well, look, if this was an interrogation, you'd have already given me like 10 cues that tell me that you're full of shit when you say that. So I think Simmons is just in denial right now. I think there's something in the back of her mind that thinks, that at least contemplates the possibility of her and Fitz becoming a thing. But she's not really how do I say this? She's not really processing it yet. And right now she's just very confused. And the result is that the only way she can kind of cope with it is by denying it. But it's not convincing denial. Because when you say something like, "Oh no, me and Fitz, no, that would never. I never thought that we'd be anything like that at all." If that's as convincing as she can sound, then it's obvious that she's at least thinking about it. So no, Bobby didn't buy it, and I don't buy it either. I think Simmons believes it right now, but once she processes everything that she needs to process, I think she's going to feel differently. Now, what it's going to take for her to process that, I think it'll take another life and death situation. Because that's pretty much what it took for Fitz to completely understand what he was feeling last season. That may happen next week, because it looks like the cave is going to start caving in on. Excuse me. Looks like they're going to be underground, and it looks like the cave is going to be crashing in on them. And when you're in extreme situations like that, things get interesting and emotions get heated. So I would expect something to happen there. Maybe those feelings will be pushed a little closer to the surface. We don't know. I'm expecting something like that, though. Strippin 19. So I know Charlie thinks Mac is an inhuman based off of what happened to him, but I think that is how the defense system works. If you weren't worthy, then you become a sentry to defend the city. Also, I don't think the city is as Tillin as Coulson wants to blow it up. Yeah, I haven't seen Charlie's review of the show yet. I don't know if he posted it yet. He hadn't posted it yet last time I checked. But that was what I figured. If you don't have the inhuman gene, then it turns you into a guardian or a sentry. Yeah, I think it's all one big defense mechanism. Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. You also don't think the city is a Tillin as Coulson wants to blow it up. Explain. Not sure what you're getting at here. You think Coulson wouldn't want to blow it up if it was a Tillin? Oh, here's a good one. The Save Me one. There were a few things about the dream sequence. Daisy was playing in the background, pointing out how Sky maybe is Daisy Johnson, aka Quake. Yeah, I noticed that too. The song, yeah. I didn't notice it at first, but I was listening to a podcast about the episode, and they pointed out, yeah, hey, this song that's playing, yeah, they slowed it down and turned it into like a lullaby thing, but that's the song. Daisy, give me your answer, blah blah blah. That's the song. I did notice that. I think it might not necessarily mean anything. It could be a red herring, or it could be a hint. I'm not ruling that out. Pointing out how Sky may be Daisy Johnson, aka Quake, and it showed how much Sky looks at Coulson and May as her surrogate parents. However, Sci-Fi 101 says when an episode opens up with a girl having a dream sequence, all hell will break loose soon. Sci-Fi 101 says that? I'm not saying all hell is not about to break loose. I didn't know that was an actual thing in Sci-Fi 101. Okay. I will defer to you on that, but yeah. All signs point to the shit really hitting the fan next week. So I think you're right. Squirrely Boy, I like how Reyna continues to be a wild card. You don't really know for sure whose side she's on, or if she's even on anyone's side for that matter. Yeah. Real wild card. I think Reyna is on Reyna's side. I think she will side with whoever she thinks has the ability to get her to the city and help her become whatever it is that she's going to become. I think that that's the reason she was with Sky's father. I think that's the only. Yeah. Pretty much. She's kind of similar to Ward in that way. Not really on anyone's side but her own at this point. I loved how she just jumped ship. Basically, just told S.H.I.E.L.D. to fuck off because Hydra had the Diviner now. Even though she was terrified of them the last time she was in contact with Hydra, even though they pretty much tried to kill her. She's like, well, you got the Diviner? Okay, I guess I'm on your team now. Reyna. Squirrely Boy, Ward kind of screwed the pooch at the end of this episode. Well, he screwed the pooch in that he kind of outed himself as not being as loyal to Whitehall as he appeared to be. Not sure what Ward's plan was there, but I mean, he had to know that was going to backfire on him pretty quickly. He might be able to get Sky to her father, but then what? You know, Whitehall's going to be gunning for him now, probably. Whitehall knows he can't trust Ward now. I'm very interested to see what Ward's plan is to get himself out of this. Squirrely Boy. If Fitz and Simmons do become a couple, I just hope the show is able to keep their relationship interesting and not have them become like Jim and Pam from The Office when they finally got together. I think they will. I don't think that'll be a problem. You always need to have a certain amount of conflict. I think when couples get together and they're happy for too long, that's when people lose interest because the stuff that gets boring at this point. And the tension is what keeps people tuning in. And once that tension is relieved, that's when it gets really harder to keep it interesting. There are examples to the contrary. Seth and Summer from the OC, they became a couple pretty well more quickly than I think a lot of people thought they would, and they were together pretty much through the entire run of the show. They broke up for a while in season 2, as I recall, but for the most part, they were together through the entire run of that show, and they had to add conflict and stuff to it at times, but they were able to keep that relationship interesting because there was so much chemistry between Adam Brody and Rachel Bilson, and they pulled it off and they sold it and they made it work, and they were able to keep it interesting for 4 seasons. I think Fitz and Simmons, Ian DeCasticker, Elizabeth Henstridge, I think they could do that easily. These writers are good enough. The chemistry between them is good enough that they could pull that off. Yeah, you do want to be careful to avoid the Jim and Pam factor. They were most interesting before they got together. Apparently, a lot of people think this. Yeah, I still liked them afterward, but once they hooked up in season 4, it just wasn't really the same. They were still cute, but a lot of that excitement was gone. And that's all the questions about the respective shows. Okay, well, so NJ is still with us. Number one, what can you do? Oh, shout out to Batista. Okay, NJ wants a shout out to Batista. Apparently, Batista has been cast in the new James Bond movie. I heard about this. I'm not sure which role he's playing, but he's going to be in there apparently. And I think there was another one. NJ, now we're at the end. Out of all these shows, what show do you think I should start watching? I don't think Constantine is going to be for everybody, although I'm enjoying it for the most part. Flash, I have some problems with. Arrow has been very consistent, or at least was for the first 2 seasons. Season 3 has been a little hit and miss for me. Shield starts out slowly, has a bit of a rocky beginning in the first season, but the second season has been really, really damn good. Out of all those shows, which one should you start watching? I'd say Arrow. Watch Arrow. And I know I already got NJ to try Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Apparently he quit after the first couple episodes, right before it started getting better. I think the next step. I think he told me he was going to stop watching it when the next episode was the Chitauri virus episode. I'm like, dude, you got to keep going. This is when it starts improving, So I'm pretty sure he stopped watching the show, but he should give it another chance. I explained to him before he started watching it. Look, you got to give it time to work the kinks out, and by the time they hit the Winter Soldier tie-in episode, it's a completely different show. But yeah, Arrow and Shield. Arrow and Shield. And wow, no questions or comments about all the big casting news. Let's see. I will call this up so I have all the names in front of me. Son of a bitch. Where is it? Well, I can find Suicide Squad later. But yeah, the big casting news from Marvel that came out just a couple hours before, I think like 2 hours before we came on, before we started this one. Apparently, they've cast Doctor Strange. Benedict Cumberbatch is playing Doctor Strange, which I'm so thrilled about because he was my #1 choice. I've seen some people some people kind of poo-pooing this. Apparently, some people were hoping for like an ethnic actor, maybe like a Middle Eastern actor or something. Strange always seemed like a white guy to me. I could be wrong about that. But no, I'm not complaining about Benedict Cumberbatch. No, the guy's an incredible actor. So yeah, again, he's my first choice. I could see. It's like there are a couple ethnic actors I could see playing this role. I think Danny Danger from Weird Girls was kind of advocating that they go for someone like Oded Fair. I think I could see that. I suppose. I don't know. I'm really happy about Benedict Cumberbatch playing Doctor Strange. I don't know what to tell you about that. Also, we have apparently Kristen Ritter from who is Jesse's girlfriend in Breaking Bad season 2, and she was in Don't Trust the Bee and Apartment 23, which I never watched. She has been cast as Jessica Jones in the Marvel Netflix series. That I really don't know about. That seems like really strange casting to me. I just had it in my head from the beginning, when this project was first announced, that they had to get Jennifer Carpenter to play Jessica Jones. To me, Jennifer Carpenter is that character. I mean, watch her on Dexter. She is Jessica Jones. How do you not cast Jennifer Carpenter as that character? I don't know. Oh, I could never picture anyone but her as that character. Kristen Ritter, really? Kristen Ritter, I like her, but it seems like such an odd choice. I don't get that casting at all. I'm going to try to keep an open mind until I see a trailer or something, but man, that is weird. That is really weird. And then we got the Suicide Squad, where we have. I'm not familiar with all these characters, but we got Tom Hardy as Rick Flag. I don't know who Rick Flag is. Let's see. Jai Courtney as Boomerang. I'm not sure who Jai Courtney or Boomerang are. Cara Delevingne is the Enchantress. All right, look. The big ones are Will Smith is playing Deadshot. Really? Will Smith? I love Will Smith, but Deadshot? Really? it's kind of strange that they go for a guy like Will Smith for an ensemble for what appears to be an ensemble movie like this. Because you would expect if it's Will fucking Smith, you'd expect him to kind of be the star, wouldn't you? Again, very strange casting with that. Jared Leto is the Joker. Okay, I feel a little strange about it, mainly because it just hasn't been that long since Heath Ledger's turn as the Joker, which will pretty much be the definitive take on the Joker as far as the movies go until, well, for a really fucking long time. It just feels strange that they're going back, that they're going to do the Joker again so soon. Now getting an Academy Award-winning actor to play him, I like. Again, benefit of the doubt, I guess. I could see Jared Leto as the Joker. It just feels like it's really soon to be doing this, though. And we got Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I am so interested to see Harley Quinn on the big screen, although no one will ever be better than the Harley Quinn from Batman the Animated Series. I don't see any way she's going to top that. I'd like to see her try at least. The only thing I've seen Margot Robbie in was the Pan Am. Yeah, Pan Am, the TV series, that short-lived ABC series. I think it lasted about half a season. I liked her on that show. Yeah, I like Pan Am. It had a certain charm to it. I never saw her in that Scorsese movie she was in. Was The Wolf of Wall Street? Something like that. Possibly. I think she got nominated for an Oscar for that one. I don't remember, but yeah, apparently she was really good in that. I think there is a question of, are they just going for the person who's getting really hot right now instead of like a character actor who might be more appropriate for the role? I don't know. I think she kind of looks like a Harley Quinn. I could see that. I mean, who else is going to be Harley? I don't know. Be a comedian of some kind. Yeah, that must be such a hard role to cast. I really couldn't think of anyone for Harley Quinn off the top of my head. So Margot Robbie, okay. Why the fuck not? Okay. TKO Rising, what are your thoughts on the Terminator Genesis trailer? I still hate that fucking Y in Genesis. What the fuck is that? Why are you spelling Genesis with a Y? Who does that? What is the point of that? To make it seem, what does putting a Y in it make it seem cool? Somehow. What is with that fucking Y? I watched the trailer once. I didn't really get much from it. Apparently, there's going to be like a T-1000 type of Terminator in it. Oh, Christ, did this thing just freeze up? I think the computer just froze up. All right, I will... I can't tell if I'm even on right now. But I will try... I'll give my thoughts on the trailer, and then I'll just wrap this up. It looks like there's some kind of T-1000 type of Terminator in there, in the Terminator Genesis with a Y trailer. It feels like they're trying to get too fancy with it. why not just try to keep it simple? One Terminator, you got Kyle Reese, one Terminator. No, I think this thing got off to a bad start immediately, in my opinion, when they had Schwarzenegger in there playing an older Terminator who's aged, so Schwarzenegger could still play the role as a 60-plus-year-old man. It's like they have to come up with this bullshit subplot about the Terminator's human skin aging just so they have an excuse to cast Schwarzenegger in the role in this remake when he's pushing 70. Doesn't casting the same character as the Terminator defeat the purpose of making a fucking remake?